Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the best place for the best takes. I'm Benjamin Cure. This is the Benjamin Cure Show. What an amazing weekend of sports. I did not expect that a first or second weekend in August was going to be so jam-packed, but it was truly one of the best sporting weekends we've had in a long time. I want to start with Team USA and, of course, Steph Curry, who went nuclear in the fourth quarter, and what it means for his legacy and for Team USA and this whole debate between the 1992 Dream Team and the 2024 gold medalist Team USA. So let me put up the headline real quick here on YouTube. That way we can have our graphics going. And yeah, let me read this first. That way we can kind of get the preamble out of the way with the stats and whatnot. And then we'll get into the actual conversation. It is now 5 straight Olympic golds for the USA after a hard-fought 98-87 victory over the resilient and prideful host nation of France on Saturday. Curry assured his first gold medal with a ridiculous fall-away bomb over 2 defenders after a behind-the-back dribble. I am never going to forget that shot in my entire life. I have been trying to make sure that I'm not overcompensating in my mind or being a prisoner of the moment, but to me, that is the greatest basketball shot I have ever seen. Make no mistake about it. The impact, I kind of want to think back to the Kyrie Irving shot with Cleveland, but it feels bigger than that. So many more things at stake. I know that Team USA had a larger lead than that moment where Kyrie was trying to take the lead in Game 7, but this one felt special. I'm going to continue here. After making 9 3-pointers in the semifinals and putting in 36 points, Curry made 8 of 12 triples in the final for 24 golden points. It was quite a turn of events after Curry, which we talked about last week, had been just 5 of 20 on 3-pointers and was averaging just 7 points heading into the semifinals 3 days ago. While Curry was the hero, LeBron James was named MVP after scoring 14 points with 6 rebounds and 10 assists. It added to his 4 NBA MVPs, 4 Finals MVPs, 3 NBA All-Star Game MVPs, and the only in-season tournament championship in the NBA's history, which of course started this past year. James earned his 3rd gold medal and 4th Olympic gold medal, joining Durant as the only American male with 4. Kevin Durant, who became the first American male to win 4 golds, had 15 points and several big baskets throughout the contest. Devin Booker, who I think was the unsung hero, the unsung MVP of this entire thing, had 15 points. He locked into his 2nd Olympic gold. Booker also had an 18 plus minus for the game and was plus 76 in the Olympics. Last but not least, AD had a really great final game, had one of the best games with 8 points, 10 rebounds, 4 blocks, and also took home his 2nd gold. With that being out of the way, the stats and the important stuff, I wanted to make sure that we got that sorted out. Kevin Durant at this point is better than Larry Bird. LeBron James is better than Michael Jordan. Steph Curry is better than Magic Johnson. And you can feel nostalgic over those guys because you grew up with them or for whatever the case or reason may be. But in my opinion, the players today are more talented, they're more skilled, they're bigger, they're better. They are the better players. And it's not to disrespect or say Michael Jordan was a scrub or Bob Cousy was a scrub or Magic Johnson wouldn't even make a team today. I'm not going that far. But to say, being objective, when you watch these two teams, when you go back and you watch the 1992 Dream Team and you watch this 2024 Olympic gold medal team, it's like, come on, guys. Yes, both teams won gold. Both teams are excellent. Both teams are arguably playing the best basketball this planet has ever seen. But with that being said, if this 2024 team went head-to-head with 1992's team, I don't think it's particularly close. I think this 2024 team gets them out of there in 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. I don't want to get too disrespectful, but that's not even me trying to incite like a debate here. This 2024 team, top down, is miles better than the 1992 team. And that's not me trying to stoke a flame or anything like that. Magic Johnson's impact and his greatness has so much to do with what he did for the game of basketball. Games, specifically the NBA Finals, were on tape delay when Magic Johnson was in the NBA. He was a part of the era of basketball that changed that alongside Michael Jordan and made the NBA a live appointment viewing television type situation. His greatness cannot be overstated. With that being said, let's talk about greatness. Greatness, we've already said, is your impact on the game and on how the game is played or how the game is consumed. Steph Curry has literally at every single level of basketball changed the way that kids play AAU basketball, changed the way that kids play in middle school, changed the way that kids play in high school, changed the way that kids play in college, changed the way basketball is played in the NBA. And you want to argue that Steph Curry is not the greatest point guard of all time? Take the attributes, take the gold medal, take the NBA championships, take all of that out of it for a second here, and just Steph's resume in general. look at the kind of impact that Steph Curry has had on the game of basketball and tell me he's not the greatest point guard you've ever seen or the greatest point guard that has ever played. To me, it's undeniable. This gold medal is not the solidifying case. It's not the final nail in the coffin in that case. To me, it's more of a cherry on top on a case that, to me, was already won 2 years ago when Steph Curry, past his prime, if we're being honest, won another NBA championship and literally carried his team to the promised land after years of not having been able to make it into the dance. To me, that is more impressive than Magic Johnson's career, and I think Steph absolutely deserves our praise on this Monday morning. I want to move on to LeBron James, because LeBron James, too, is sort of a part of this debate. Where does he rank against Michael? I've not flip-flopped in this debate, but I've always been a lot more even keel than I think other people are. And I've always said, I don't think the debate is as far apart as people make it seem, because people will always go to specifically Michael Jordan defenders. Oh, you know what? Michael's got the 6 rings. He's undefeated in the finals. That's the nail in the coffin. There's guys with more rings than Michael. There's guys with more impressive resumes than Michael if you're going off resume alone. So that can't be the deciding factor, because then you've already disproven your own point. The gap was never as large between LeBron James and Michael Jordan as the world, specifically the Jordan brand and Nike, wanted you to believe. LeBron James at 6'9", 250 pounds, in a one-on-one game, this mythological one-on-one game that fans talk about. Oh, Michael was better on offense. Michael was better on defense. If they're playing one-on-one, I've said this before, LeBron James is putting Michael Jordan in a body bag in a game of one-on-one. And against each other on a team setting, let's take the 1992 Dream Team and the 2024 Olympic USA gold medal winning team. That team is winning in 5 games in a 7-game series. It is not to put down the previous generation of players who came before LeBron, who came before Steph, that whole era of basketball that paved the way for basketball to be the conglomerate that it is now and the juggernaut of a sport. But to say that those guys are better than our current athletes, are more skilled, are better shooters, are more agile, are better athletes, it's ignoring reality, it's ignoring facts, it's ignoring statistics, it's ignoring the tape, and quite frankly, you're living in the past. You're being a prisoner of the past. I do not think I'm being a prisoner of the moment when I say that Steph Curry is the greatest point guard I have ever seen and is certainly the greatest point guard of all time, and I don't believe it's a stretch to say that LeBron James is absolutely the greatest player of all time, who's had the longest prime of any athlete ever, and arguably right now, when he is past his prime, is still this good. Another thing here that I want to, before we move on from this topic, because this is the last time we talk about basketball probably on this show for several months, LeBron James was incredibly disrespected by many people out there this past season, including myself, when we did not rank him in our top 10 players, because I believe that on a consistent basis, LeBron James was not a top 10 player in the NBA. I believe he could give you a top 5 performance every few nights, but consistently, I was like, no, that's not the case. I want to make sure that I have my list in front of me that I posted a few months ago, because I want to make sure I have it right. So a few months ago, in the middle of the season, I said the top 5 players in the NBA were number 1, Nikola Jokic, number 2, Giannis, number 3, Luka, number 4, SGA, and number 5, Steph Curry. Going into this upcoming year, LeBron James is going to be on my top 5 list of the best players in the NBA right now, because after what he showed us in the Olympics, that's undeniable. Oh, this guy can still play. He's still excellent. Now, is he forced to do way too much in his current situation in LA? Obviously, I think. And AD played some great basketball, but man, where was this AD when you needed him multiple times throughout the last season? He was available, but I don't think we saw this lethal version of AD. I also think the rest of the Lakers, this is total. I mean, I saw tweets yesterday where guys like D'Angelo Russell were literally blocking troll accounts because troll accounts were saying, man, LeBron is going to have a tough time going back to D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves. And it's not to be disrespectful to those guys, even though it does come off as such. But to me, it's like, it's totally obvious that if LeBron has the right supporting cast around him, he is still absolutely an excellent basketball player. He is still top 5 player in the world. And to say that he's not would be to ignore reality, to ignore the facts, to ignore the tape, and to ignore essentially this entire Olympics. If you go into the next season and you tell me LeBron James is not a top 5 player in the NBA right now, I'm going to say, were you living under a rock the entire summer? That is the end of our basketball talk. Let's move on to, we've got 2 preseason rookie quarterback debuts that I want to talk about here. 2 in particular that I think are very interesting. Number 1, Bears rookie quarterback Caleb Williams, who, according to this article headline, showcased his arm talent and improv skills in his preseason debut. So let's get the statistics out of the way. A number 1 overall pick showed his laser arm, improv skills, and ability to make difficult throws look easy in 2 field goal drives. In the opening series, Williams zipped the pigskin to DJ Moore on a 3rd and 12 to convert a first down. He then invited the pressure on a screen and slung a half-look pass, maybe a no-look pass, but they called it half-look, to running back DeAndre Swift for a 42-yard gain. Of course, everybody on Twitter was like, he threw the ball 3 yards. Yeah, any other player makes that in the NFL, and you're saying that's a great decision by the quarterback. So we're not saying he's responsible necessarily for the entirety of a 42-yard gain, but by the same token, like, are you in denial here? I think so. On the second drive, Williams showed his ability to throw on the move, darting a pretty sideline ball to tight end Cole Kmet on the roll. The rookie also scrambled for a first down on a 3rd and 9 play. In 2 drives, the Williams-led offense generated 147 yards and 7 first downs, while the QB went 4 of 7 for passing for 95 yards with 13 rushing yards. The only negative was each position was stalled inside the 20, forcing the teams to have to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. By the way, on the box score, this is the perfect example of the box score doesn't tell the full story. 4 of 7 passing. He should have gone 6 for 7. Caleb threw a perfect ball to Cole Kmet, which he dropped in the flat. And DJ Moore also had a drop. So he should have been 6 for 7. Would have looked even better. How do we feel about Caleb Williams' debut? In my opinion, it was the best rookie quarterback debut of any of the quarterbacks out there. Even better than Joe Milton, who, don't look now, may end up being the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots over Drake May. But that's a topic for next week as the situation there kind of plays out and evolves. I don't want to jump on anything too soon. I like Jaden Daniels' debut. It wasn't bad. I liked Michael Penix's debut. We're going to talk about it in a second here. But to me, it is not going to shock me if 4 weeks into the year, we're already saying that Caleb Williams is a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Because right now, I can tell you, I believe Caleb Williams at this point is better than Geno Smith. I believe he's better than Deshaun Watson. I believe he's better than Russell Wilson. I believe he's better than Bryce Young. I believe he's better than Derek Carr. There are already certain quarterbacks who are not superstars who I feel like, you know what? Caleb is probably better and more capable and a better athlete than them at this point. Right now, in my quarterback rankings, I have Aaron Rodgers taking up the spot number 15. If in 3 weeks from now, things continue the way I think they're going to play out, I wouldn't be shocked if Caleb is sitting at number 15, and I'm already talking about him like he's a top 15 quarterback in the NFL. Higher than that, I would have a problem putting him, because higher than that are guys like Kyler Murray or, someone with at least a playoff game under their belt, and some guys that have playoff wins. That's the only reason why I don't think he would be in my top 10, because my top 10 is made up of guys who have playoff wins, who have a playoff history. Number 12 would be Dak Prescott. I'm not the biggest fan of Dak Prescott, but right now, if we're only judging off regular season and we're really only talking about one preseason game, I'm not going to go too crazy here. I would assume that I'm going to like how Caleb plays throughout the course of the regular season, but Dak Prescott is a better regular season quarterback and has proven to be a better regular season quarterback than Caleb Williams at this point, who has 0 regular season games under his belt. Same situation with Tua. Now, if we get to December and Caleb Williams makes it into the playoffs, makes it into the dance, and has a 1-0, and it's going to be impossible to have a 1-0, but wins a playoff game and maybe finishes with a record of 1-1 in this postseason, which would be very difficult to even make it into the dance with the Packers and the Lions in that division. But if he does finish with a relatively good playoff sequence or a playoff win, I'm already going to have Caleb in the top 10, and nobody's going to be able to talk me off of that. Right now, with this team as presently constructed, I would be super excited if I was a Bears fan, because I know I have a capable defense. I know Matt Eberflus is a capable head coach. I know I have a great offense with a lot of great playmakers who, yes, it is year 1 in the system, but already looked pretty damn good during the preseason game. And I know that Caleb Williams is going to play like that, if not better, and he's going to get even more polished, which to me, he was incredibly polished. He was incredibly poised. He used his legs. He used his arms. He didn't force anything downfield. He threw some great balls during that game. That could be a top 10 team in the NFL. I don't think that is an exaggeration or me, just going off the wall here in terms of hype. I think that Caleb Williams and that team is going to be really exciting to watch, and I can't wait to see what he shows in his next preseason game. But yeah, Caleb is already that guy. Let him cook. So let's move on to our last rookie debut that I want to go over here. Rookie Michael Penix Jr. has a good start for the Falcons and 20-13 loss to the Dolphins in their preseason opener. So obviously, as someone from Miami, this was a game that everybody was paying pretty close attention to. Atlanta rookie Michael Penix completed 9 of 16 passes for 104 yards, and the Falcons' 20-13 loss to the Miami Dolphins on Friday night in the preseason opener for both teams. Penix, the former Washington star, drafted 8th overall, started and played the first 5 drives. He connected with Chris Blair on a 41-yard pass down the sideline midway through the first quarter for his longest completion. That's the highlight that everybody saw on that right sideline. Penix directed 2 drives that ended in 2 scores. Young Hoku's 39-yard field goal, and Carlos Washington's 1-yard touchdown run. Taylor Heineke replaced Michael Penix with 6:40 remaining in the second quarter, and obviously things went downhill from there, and Atlanta fans were pretty upset about that. What is my reaction to Michael Penix Jr.'s debut? If I am Michael Penix Jr., I said this when he was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. Amongst all the hype and the conversation, obviously the dissent from both sides of the aisle, it's really smart to draft a quarterback. We saw what happened with Green Bay and Jordan Love. It's the right decision to make. And, oh, wait, but you just paid Kirk Cousins $100 million over the next 4 years, fully guaranteed. What are you going to do? Why are you going to draft a guy to sit behind him if you feel like Kirk is still capable of playing good football? In my opinion, this further pushes my point and my opinion and my perspective as to what I thought about this draft pick when the draft pick was in and it was announced. Michael Penix Jr., you could make the argument that behind Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, who were the number 1 and number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft in 2024, you could make the argument that Michael Penix Jr. was already the most pro-ready guy. So if I was Michael Penix Jr. and I was drafted to sit behind Kirk Cousins, I would low-key be upset to a certain extent, because why on earth do you think I need to sit back and become a little bit more refined when I'm already one of the more refined quarterbacks in the draft class? You could argue I'm the 3rd most refined behind 2 excellent prospects. I'm a guy who has an injury past, but I'm currently ready to go and am healthy right now. And I have the poise and the confidence and the pocket presence to not fold under pressure. Like, why do you need me to sit behind Kirk? This sort of reaffirms that. If I'm Michael Penix Jr., I'm content with my performance, but I'm also questioning why on earth did the Atlanta Falcons, who had enough belief in me to draft me, think that I have to sit behind Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying it was a perfect debut for Michael Penix, because it wasn't. He overthrew some guys. I assume it's first game jitters, but like, this totally doubles down on what I thought was the case, which is, if Michael Penix Jr. was already, the narrative around him was, sure, there are injuries, age, things to be concerned about, but he's already pretty much ready. He's somebody you have to put in a microwave, not necessarily bake in an oven in terms of how ready he is as a quarterback. This kind of just makes me upset if I'm a Falcons fan. Like, why do I have to wait so long for the future? Because the reality is you're going to have to wait behind Kirk Cousins, even if Kirk doesn't necessarily have the best season, which I don't think is the case. I think Kirk is going to be just fine. But, like, let's say worst case scenario here, which is me not wishing anything bad upon anybody, but it was also me acknowledging the reality of the situation. Kirk Cousins being 39 years of age, coming off a season-ending injury. What if he goes down again? Michael Penix comes out and is excellent. At that point, you've got a problem, because now you realize, oh, Michael Penix is great, but he needs more help around him. And right now, he's on a rookie contract, so we should be able to load up on talent around him the same way that it was done with Josh Allen, with Tua, with Mahomes, with all these great quarterbacks, Jalen Hurts, when they're on their rookie deal. Let's load up on talent. Justin Herbert, the same thing. Let's put as much talent and money as we can around him, especially on defense, because we know he doesn't. We know we're not going to have to pay him for the next few years, but like, he's worth it. Now you can't do that because you're caught between a rock and a hard place with Kirk Cousins' contract, $100 million guaranteed. It's just not good. It's not good front office management. It's not the way that our team that is successful, that is doing things for the future, you would ideally think it's not being run that way. So just incredibly confused by the Michael Penix Jr. situation. I think he's a great player. I think he sort of proved everybody's point. Very excited about his future in the NFL, but by the same token, it proves that as great and as talented as Atlanta is, and as well as they may have drafted, proves that from a front office point of view, they seem pretty incompetent right now. And that's a nice way of putting it. With that being said, that is all for this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Great one this week. A lot of fun stories coming out of camp. There's also, I want to touch upon this last story because I had a friend text to me this morning. Thank you, Jose. So Pretty Ricky, who's this guy on X, who has sort of become the unspoken, unofficial insider for the NFL, tweeted out this morning, as the NFL world waits on the Brandon Ayuk contract situation, Ricky can confirm the Cowboys have offered CeeDee Lamb a 4-year contract worth $33.5 million per year. I would be surprised if this isn't resolved soon. Now, I've had this conversation with a lot of friends of mine over the past several months because everybody's obviously interested in the Cowboys. And what are they going to do when they have 3 stars who are set to become free agents or who could be free agents pretty soon and are coming up on contract years? What are they going to do? Can you even pay all those guys? Here's the thing, and I put the numbers very just point blank. Micah is going to ask for a minimum of $35 million for 5 years because that's what Nick Bosa got last season. So I assume he's going to want the same, if not more. I would assume more. So I'm being very conservative here with my estimate. He's going to ask for at least $35 per year for 5 years. That comes up to $175 million. CeeDee is going to want what Justin Jefferson just got, which is $35 million for 4 years, $140 million. Dak currently, from what we've heard, and I believe this to be the case absolutely, I don't think this is an exaggeration, Dak will not take less than $60 million a year for 5 years, which is $300 million. At that point, that is well over $500 million on 3 dudes. Now, do you want a top-heavy team? Not necessarily, Ben, but the back-to-back defending Kansas City Chiefs, who are the back-to-back defending champs of the NFL, are very top-heavy as well in Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Chris Jones. Yes, but they also have the great equalizer in Patrick Mahomes, and the numbers aren't even that big. Mahomes' contract is spread out over the course of it's a decade-long deal when it was initially signed. They do a very good job of proactively restructuring deals to make sure they have enough money cap-wise to go after other guys and, have some flexibility. They've restructured Travis Kelce's deal already multiple times. Same thing with Patrick Mahomes. I assume that Chris Jones, they want him there for the long haul. They will restructure his deal if they need to. It is a very top-heavy team, the Kansas City Chiefs, yes, but it is also a much more talented team, a much better coach team, and the team has Patrick Mahomes, who is the great equalizer. You cannot compare Patrick Mahomes to Dak Prescott in any way, shape, or form. Not as a regular season player, not as a quarterback, not as a playmaker, not as a clutch player, not as a Super Bowl winning quarterback. You can't. You cannot put them in the same class. So yes, there are other teams that are top heavy with massive contracts, specifically the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a massive portion of their cap being taken up by just 3 guys in Chris Jones, Travis Kelce, and Patrick Mahomes. But you're also trying to make the argument that Dak Prescott is the great equalizer in the way that Patrick Mahomes is. That's not the case. So it is not feasible in my mind. I don't know what they end up doing. I assume they're going to have to, if I was the Cowboys, I blow this thing up. I let everybody walk after this season because I don't think they're going to make a meaningful run in the playoffs like is expected or like what would need to happen if they all end up getting max money to re-sign. I don't think this is Jerry. I don't think Jerry is bluffing here. I think Jerry cannot keep all 3 of these guys and spend more than $500 million in one offseason on 3 guys who are all good at their position, but all have questions. Micah is a great pass rusher, but his worst games are also coincidentally the biggest games of the year. I'm not 100% sold on Micah. I think he's a great player. I would pay him, but by the same token, am I 100% confident in his ability in the postseason and what he brings to the table? No, not necessarily, especially not after this prior playoff. Dak, I've already told you guys multiple times, not a great postseason record. Sure, everybody always tells me, he's won 12 games. Dak Prescott wins 12 games. How can you replace 12 games? I don't care if you're winning 12 games a year if you can't win the games that count. I don't think Dak Prescott is a $300 million quarterback. I would not be willing to pay him that for that reason. So the Cowboys situation is evolving. I don't like to once a week, since this show is only once a week, talk about situations that are developing because it's kind of counterproductive, but this is one that I wanted to talk about. Doesn't make any sense to me. I am not re-signing all 3 Cowboys to max money. If this is the way it plays out, then I guess classic Cowboys, but yeah, I would not do it. I would advise against it. With that being said, that is the end of this week's show. Thank you so much for tuning in, to our TikTok audience as well. You guys were crushing it. I saw the chat flying. I'll take a look at it later, and we'll stay live on there maybe for a little bit. But yeah, for our YouTube audience, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll be live once again next Monday. Quick birthday shout out to my mom, who is my number 1 inspiration, my biggest critic, but also my number 1 fan. It's her birthday this week, so happy birthday, Mom. Hope we get to enjoy it. And yeah, with that being said, hope you all enjoy your week back to school. I know a lot of you are getting back there as representative of the less viewers in the TikTok chat. But yeah, hope you all have a great start to the year. It's going to be a very fun fall, a very fun football season. Can't wait to talk all about it with you guys as we continue on this series Monday after Monday. I'll see you next Monday.